Hello everybody, I am Mrs. Nesbit, and today we're doing a proper laptop review. This right here is the 2024 Lenovo ThinkBook 14 G6 Plus IMH, originally debuted at CES 2024, but conspicuously absent from CES 2025. This laptop is not available in US markets, which is why I had to order it from mainland China via Superbuy. I've had this laptop for about 6 months now, and it's been my daily driver. I love this machine. There are quirks to it, but it does what I need in a computer, and it helps me to realize the paradigm that I've been searching for a long time, or striving for, rather. In that I want one computer that can do everything I need, and when I'm on the road, it's light yet powerful enough to do what I need. Be it, IT admin, troubleshooting hardware, or even some light gaming while I'm traveling. And then when I get home, I want to sit down at my desk, dock this bad boy, and experience a full desktop quality gaming session. And that is achievable via what Lenovo is calling the ThinkBook graphics extension. That device right behind me. But under the hood, it's just PCIe 4.0, 4 lanes of it, in the form of an Oculink connector. They didn't even create their own proprietary connector, which is lucky for us, because it means there are a whole host of aftermarket solutions should you wish to go with something other than first party. I think that's a wonderful choice on Lenovo's part, even if this is a one-off excursion for them. But let's, for this video, focus on the laptop itself. Now I'm going to read some specs off here while I talk about the machine itself. So speeds and feeds. This one comes with an Intel Core Ultra 7 155H. That's 6P cores, 8E cores, totaling 16 cores and 22 threads. Now that includes 2 low power cores, which only a year in are properly functioning to actually reduce this laptop's average power draw. It's gone through a lot of firmware updates since I first got it, and the battery life was not always stellar, especially with bugs like the dedicated NVIDIA graphics still being active even when they were disabled either through software or hardware or BIOS, but thankfully all of that has been ironed out. So the processor itself clocks up to 4.8 gigahertz burst. In sustained benchmarks, I've seen anywhere from 4.3 to 4.4 gigahertz in what Lenovo calls geek performance mode, which just means they push the fans as high as they'll go. Now, this also comes with 8 Xe cores of Intel's Arc graphics, clocked at 2.25 gigahertz. I have not gamed much on the iGPU, especially because it, at low power, is not as efficient as the NVIDIA GPU. And that GPU is a 4068 gig, clocked at 55 watts nominal, with boost available up to 70 watts. It comes with 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X, clocked at 7,467 megatransfers per second. This is soldered memory, which is how we get that speed. And for my use case, 32 gigs is the minimum, but remains perfectly acceptable for everything I need, be it gaming, troubleshooting, admin. I can have any amount of programs going on in the background. In my mind, for base level business or personal use case, 16 gigs is the minimum, but for a professional, 32 gigs is where you're going to want to sit. It'll take care of you for many years to come as developers continue to use as much memory as possible. In addition, I popped in a 2 terabyte SK Hynix P31. That's their low power variant, and that works without issue. I've been using that in quite a few laptops, including those that preceded this one. In addition, it has an 85 watt-hour battery that now, thanks to some firmware updates, lasts anywhere between 7 and 9 hours of your average use case. Browsing, video watching, other media consumption, it's fine. It's perfectly acceptable. And in the 7 months, technically, that I've had this, I have lost 2% of the total battery capacity, because I figure, I'd rather use the whole battery. I paid for the whole battery, I'm going to use it, instead of trying to keep it healthy, sitting at 80%. This isn't a car that I want to maintain the longevity of. It spends most of its life plugged in anyway, but we'll talk about that later. I'm running Windows 11, and it's fine. I miss Windows 7. I won't get it back. So the screen this thing has is a 14.5 inch micro bezel 16 by 10, 3072 by 1920, 120 hertz LCD IPS display. This is perfectly acceptable for gaming. I'm able to play competitive shooters without much issues with ghosting or anything like that. The 4060 is comfortable running at that 120 hertz panel spec, even at that resolution, provided you keep your expectations of graphical fidelity in check. I encourage the usage of DLSS, even though I think a lot of NVIDIA's modern features are designed to give you a worse experience but charge you more. DLSS is still valuable, and this thing can, on its own, play modern AAA titles without much difficulty. You know, if the Steam Deck can do it, certainly so might this. That's enough of speeds and feeds. Let's talk about the usability of the device. On the left side, we have a deluge of ports. You have USB-C, also supporting power delivery. You have USB-A, full-size HDMI 2.1. You have a USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4 port, also supporting power delivery. You have a combo mic headphone jack, as well as that Oculink 4X connection, which Lenovo calls TGX. This is capable of connecting with, again, their own first-party device as well as third-party devices. In addition, this laptop does support Thunderbolt and USB 4 external PCIe devices, so if that's the way you want to go, you still have that freedom. On the other side, we have Ethernet. This is only gigabit, not that anybody on a laptop really needs beyond gigabit Ethernet, but you know, it's always nice to see when they throw in anything but the Intel i225V, because I have horror stories. Next to that, we have another USB-A port. We then have a micro SD card slot, as well as the little cover for a USB 2.0 slot that can support a wireless mouse dongle. Very convenient. I wish more laptop manufacturers would do this. Or at least Lenovo, bring it back to the US. This thing would sell without issue. And I think beyond that, we've got nothing. Nothing on the front, nothing on the back. It's just a hinge. We open it up to find a reasonably spacious trackpad, and this thing is Force Touch compatible. I think that's how Lenovo is branding it. It's theoretically one of their special edition options, but every device I've seen comes with this specific trackpad. In addition, you have a reasonably spacious keyboard. I enjoy typing on it. The typing experience is quite nice. However, it would appear that some of the keys are starting to show wear after only about half a year, which troubles me with regards to the laptop's longevity. You also have a fingerprint reader in the power button, which I so appreciate. I cannot stand Windows Hello face unlock because I find it inconsistent, and I don't think it's my ugly mug that's the fault. You also have a physical cover for the webcam. Hot damn, do I love physical on and off switches for things, and you know what? This one qualifies. In addition, it does connect to software, so the machine does know when it's physically covered, but there's a barrier between the webcam and you. I like that little bit of extra guarantee to make sure I'm in control of when I appear on a video call. In addition, it has forward-firing speakers and two larger speakers on bottom. These fire downward, but if you're on a desk, they'll fire upward, and the sound quality is not terrible. We'll test that a little bit later. All in all, the machine is quite usable on its own. That RTX 4060 is no slouch, even if it is only clocked at 55 watts nominal. As long as the CPU itself is not demanding all of the power envelope this machine has to offer, the GPU will turbo up to 70 watts, no problem. In addition, it charges via USB-C, which is both a blessing and a curse, and you can thank Lenovo for this. This brick right here is 140 watts total over USB-C. Now, you might be jumping for joy thinking that, well, any USB-C device that supports the USB PD spec up to 28 volts and 5 amps should be compatible with this. It is, but it'll only charge at 100 watts, and you will lose out on some potential performance when you utilize both the GPU and the CPU simultaneously. You see, Lenovo has their own idea about how USB-C power should operate. And so this device supplies 20 volts and 7 amps over USB-C. And to this date, I cannot get anything but a Lenovo OEM power supply to actually deliver that full 140 watts. That is frustrating, but in a docked scenario, if you are, instead of utilizing the internal NVIDIA graphics chip, utilizing an external NVIDIA graphics chip, you are able to get away with only 100 watts of USB-C power going into the device. That gives the CPU all it can handle. It will turbo up to, I think I've seen as high as 90 watts in short bursts, and sustained, it'll pull about 80 watts on the CPU, which is shocking for a device of this size. And the GPU has its own power supply, so you're not worried about it. That being said, on the road, you better have your OEM 140 watt power supply, because without it, you are hamstrung. It's not that this thing will go into some low power state if it's panicking, it just loses out on that headroom. So you get about 65 watts to play with between the two devices. We'll show benchmarks of that a little bit later in the video. So that's the physical tour of the device. I think anything I'm missing? No. The other interesting part about this device is that it works. The Lenovo ThinkBook graphics extension continues to function without issue. The port does not feel loose 6 months in. I do not get the issues with the first-party hardware that I have gotten with third-party hardware, where if I plug it in, I have to go to GPU-Z and make sure it's connecting at the full 4 lanes or the full 16 gigatransfers per second link speed for those individual lanes. It's set it and forget it, plug and play, no issues. The one thing that I wish Lenovo would work on is that right now, the only GPU compatible with the Lenovo ThinkBook graphics extension is the NVIDIA 2000 through 4000 series. I haven't tested anything older than that, so I can't say whether or not an older NVIDIA GPU will work, but I tested it with an RTX 2070, 3080, and now a 4080. Those GPUs were fine. This AMD RX 6900 XT never functioned. In fact, when I first got the device and was testing it on this, I was absolutely certain I had gotten a dud, because in any of these aftermarket boards, this 6900 XT connects without issue. This specific board even supports hot plug for AMD and NVIDIA GPUs. Haven't tested Intel's new Arc Battlemage cards, but maybe in the future. You tell me in the comments. So if you're using NVIDIA hardware, this is fine. If you're using AMD, it's a bit more frustrating of an experience, but I leave it to you to decide. That's all for this brief review of the device. I'll have more information on performance and eGPU connectivity in more videos coming down the line. I'm going to sign out on this one so I don't have to edit any video. Thank you, and subscribe. I am going to have to edit this part out because I'm absolutely using my phone to record this. It's the best camera I own. Bye!